Warning. Absolutely everything I'm about to talk about is beyond sickening, disgusting, and vile to its very core. Okay, I'm done selling you the movie. Let's jump in.
You want to think about one thing, girl. Well, two things, actually. First, it could be your little sister hanging here instead of you. And second, I can hear it from the one of you, or I can hear it from the other. You just think about that.
The Girl Next Door is an extremely disturbing movie, but I want to make sure my own viewing audience doesn't get this twisted. This is not disturbing like, say, a Serbian film, where the exploitation is so over the top that you can't help but laugh at the depravity of it all. No, this sadistic tale is based on the very real story of an unfortunate young woman who is tortured, humiliated, assaulted, and eventually succumbed to her torture and died. When the end credits roll on this one, all you can think to yourself is, where is the delete humanity button?
It's the history eraser button, you fool!
I'll go into the plot details in just a second, but the really and truly abhorrent part about this movie is that, as mentioned earlier, it's all based on a true story. The awful story of a girl named Sylvia Likens, who had her entire life ahead of her. And let me tell you, if you thought that this movie was depraved and disgusting enough, please do not do yourself the disservice of reading about the actual case this movie is based on. It will haunt you to your soul.
Before we continue, consider smashing that subscribe button if your taste in movies runs as black as mine. And possibly a like if you want to egg me on to keep watching this shit.
The movie is a dramatized version of a book by the same name, written by Jack Ketchum. Though based on a true story, the characters and scenarios are technically fictitious. This gives the author full license to tell the story the way he sees it fit, without being chained down by the task of making sure it's merely biographical. Jack's tale, surprisingly, is nowhere near as fucked up as the true story of Sylvia Likens, but I still have to give him credit where credit is due. He does not shy away from telling you a tale as unapologetically black-hearted as humanly possible. I actually can't fathom reading this book and then thinking, you know what this book needs? A movie. So props to Gregory Wilson, Daniel Ferrens, and Philip Nutman for seeing that book and thinking that deserves a dramatic recreation, because goddamn is that one dark project to throw on your shoulders. So let's get on to the film then. This movie starts out very deceptively. I'd actually compare it to a Neil Breen movie. Ever see Fateful Findings? His low-budget drama about a young boy and girl who, I guess, bury a magic stone and then are bonded for life as a result? I think that's what it's about, but what do I know? The story and filming style of The Girl Next Door is almost identical to Breen's, beginning with a young boy and girl who have a youthful flirtation that promises a bright future. Actually, now that I think about it, it's a lot like Fateful Findings in that both of these movies start with a random car accident. Although the one in Breen's film is a lot funnier. However, things become very un-Breen-like very quickly as we steer hard right into a torturous nightmare. I really thought at the beginning of this film, how bad can this get? Surely no more emotional and devastating than a Breen flick.
I can't believe you committed suicide. I cannot believe you committed suicide. How could you have done this? How could you have committed suicide?
Obviously, I was a sweet, naive summer child whose innocence was about to get completely fucking wrecked. I must emphasize this with all the breath in my lungs. This is nothing like a Neil Breen movie. I'll summarize the main thrust of the plot. A boy named David meets a new girl next door named Meg, who is sweet and beautiful, but also secretive and mysterious. Who couldn't fall for that? They have a flirtation that is eventually discovered and criticized by the absolute hell-on-earth nightmare evil that is Aunt Ruth. I cannot emphasize this point enough. You will write this demonic entity of a lady off immediately upon your first viewing. Sure, she's kind of mean to Meg, but hey, she lets preteens smoke and drink in her house, so I guess she's got some redeeming qualities. Who am I kidding? This lady is pure Satan spawn. Anyways, Aunt Ruth is a little nutty and kind of mean, but at first you genuinely think to yourself, well, how bad can she be? Oh, buddy, are you in for a ride? Eventually you realize that Aunt Ruth isn't simply critical of Meg for being a floozy with the boys. she's downright abusive, keeping food from her and forcing her to starve most nights. You realize this when Meg asks David for a little bit of extra money so she can buy some food at the burger stand. David gives her his burger and she devours it within seconds. Over that burger, she confides to David about Ruth's cruelty. This cruelty comes in a slow, awful drip throughout the rest of the film. The first instance of Aunt Ruth making me extremely uncomfortable was when she decided to abuse Susan, Meg's sister. She does this by spanking her with a toilet brush that she in all likelihood had been using on a dirty toilet moments before. This scene really icked me out the second Aunt Ruth walked in, as she was carrying a toilet brush and dirty yellow gloves. Before she delivers her demeaning speech, she places the toilet scrubber on the bed, takes off her gloves, and then places them in her dress pocket casually. I already knew something bad was going to happen when she did this. The revulsion factor you feel as she ignores all sanitary practices to make her point about connivance was really, really effective. There's something very unladylike about Aunt Ruth, something hardened and threatened about Meg's beauty, a madness lurking inside her skull that's aided by booze and isolation. The edits they do to ensure that the actual actress isn't being paddled by the brush are as creative as they are disgusting, as you see each smack force her to bend her leg braces as she squirms uncomfortably. Aunt Ruth is literally beating a crippled child in front of the neighborhood boys with a brittle shit scrubber, and this is the least crazy thing you're going to see across the film's runtime. I am warning you, this is just the warm-up round. Things begin to escalate as Meg makes the grave mistake of telling a police officer about her aunt's cruelty. Sadly, the police officer she reports the abuse to does not take it seriously, leaving Meg to face her aunt's wrath upon hearing about her attempted snitch. This is where the movie becomes a descent into hell, a torturous nightmare that offers up Meg as a sacrifice to the cruelty gods. Aunt Ruth resolves her frustrations with tying her up in the basement and subjecting her to months and months of torture. Again, remember, this is based on a true story. The things that poor Meg has to endure for the rest of the runtime are truly awful, and each scene seems to exist simply to top the previous scene as far as cruelty is concerned. The way her physical appearance deteriorates through the film is a work of godless art unto itself, almost like watching a corpse decompose in Red Dead Redemption 2. It's like the Passion of the Christ. What starts off as unspoiled flesh slowly deteriorates into raw meat. What makes Meg's torment truly awful is the fact that it's not Aunt Ruth doing most of the torture, abuse, and neglect. It's actually inflicted mostly by the neighborhood boys. That's right, these sweet youngins who came over for a beer and smokes, now they're coming over to take their turns in torturing Meg. David is not a part of this group, unwilling to inflict harm on the girl who he's fallen for, but he's still forced to stand there and bear witness to this awful spectacle, leaving the audience to question what they would do in this position. Would they save Meg? And if so, how? This desperate hope becomes the one bit of light shining into that dark abyss this movie is taking you into. Don't hang on to that ray of sunshine too tightly though. This movie is not interested in alleviating your concerns for poor Meg. The one thing that really impresses me about this movie is that it really has no bottom to the depravity it wishes to explore. Every time you think, how much worse could this get? You instantly regret asking that question because the movie is happy to show you how low it's willing to go. Oh, you think tying her up in the cold is bad? What if we starved her too? Oh, food deprivation won't make you flinch? Well, what if we let the neighborhood boys beat her? Oh, that's not good enough. Then let's watch them carve things into her flesh. I mean it when I say I can't even describe half the stuff that Aunt Ruth dreamed up for our unfortunate victim. It goes there every single time. And by the way, unlike some movies that are unafraid to go into provocative territory, this one does so with no glee whatsoever. You aren't witnessing these heinous acts with a fit of surprised laughter or a shocked guffaw. No, you see all this and simply think to yourself, we are doomed as a species. There is no hope. And then you will spend the rest of your day in a deep depression. Maybe that's just me, but I'll assume that most will have a similar reaction to the depictions in this movie. The movie even toys with your expectations in a funny games type of way, where you believe for a brief second, hey, escape might be possible. You see, David gives Meg a key to escape her shackles and flee the basement, and he's ready to meet her and help her escape. But, like the captives in funny games, There is no escape. The director is not interested in giving you a way out. Meg never shows up, and the next day we find out why. She tried to help her little sister Susan escape as well. While doing so, she was caught by Aunt Ruth, and the torture only intensifies from here. As opposed to funny games, I don't think the director was looking at you with a shit-eating grin on his face when he took escape off the table. I think he was thinking more along the lines of, sorry friend, I have to tell the story this way. My apologies in advance for the trauma you're about to experience. Like, he's not thrilled to tell you the information that he has to tell you to communicate the tale he has in mind. As the movie draws to a close, we realize that Meg is going to succumb to her many wounds. Right as the cops come to save her, she passes, leaving David with her mother's necklace, who is crushed and mortified by the experience he's now been through. And years later, we join an adult David, who is haunted by the experience and frustrated by how little justice was delivered to a poor girl who simply wanted to be loved. By the time this is over, you're just sitting there wondering how everybody in this tale could be so cruel. And that's exactly what you're meant to contemplate by the end of it. It's not excess for excess's sake. It's a trip straight to hell with the backdrop of an all-American town filled with American people who do the absolute most unspeakable evil you could ever imagine. You'll even ask yourself, how do we stop this from happening? What inspired the aunt to be so evil? What inspired the children to be so evil? And so on and so forth. These are all extremely important questions to contemplate. Any art that makes you question how some of the people can give in to such despicable impulses is one worth exploring. I've talked about Pasolini in my Serbian film video, where some of the most disgusting and depraved excesses conceivable are depicted. And movies that challenge your notion on the very forces of evil are ones worth considering. Alright, first off, hats off to the actress who plays Aunt Ruth. I truly, sincerely hated this bitch with every fiber of my being by the end of the movie. A testament to how horrifying the performance of Blanche Baker is here. The way she makes you feel slightly uncomfortable at the beginning of the film and then slowly travel into undeniably evil territory by the end is just fascinating to watch. In some ways, she's extremely motherly, always giving the neighborhood boys life lessons, as well as cigarettes and beer, just to seal the bond. But it's this combination of motherliness and pure evil that makes her a conflicting character to watch on screen. You almost feel like you should be sympathetic to her, but you're not sure why. And by the time she shows you how disgusting she truly is, you wonder how you could have ever had these misconceptions about her to begin with. It's a complex character that works mostly because of the performance done here, and I have to give all the credit in the world to Blanche Baker for her performance here. Just as much credit is due to the actress who played the title character, Blythe Offarth. I am terrible with pronunciations, I apologize. She really went through the ringer on this one. Apparently Blythe shot a lot of these scenes actually tied up for hours and nude, which was an exhilarating experience, I'm sure. This movie is actually littered with a shocking amount of amazing performances. But I am genuinely curious, and maybe someone in the comments can enlighten me. How did they film the scene with the children in the basement? These scenes were all violent, sexual, and usually performed in a room full of minors. I imagine that blindfolds and ear covers were used regularly on set to protect their innocence from the unfortunate project they were all involved with. But as mentioned, every single performance from every single actor and actress in this one is solid. And even though it has a very earthy look to it, as mentioned, the Neil Breen style that I had pointed out, it really gives the film a grounded feel that makes it even more uncomfortable to watch. You almost feel like you're watching a home video due to the color wash, and some of the unpolished performances from the actors also give it a more realistic feel as well. And as one small aside, I really enjoyed how Aunt Ruth began to look more and more evil as the runtime progressed. At the beginning, she actually has a skin tone. By the end, she looks like a demon who has been drained of her own blood. Hats off to the people who made the aesthetic of this film. It is original and truly creepy. At the end of the day, The Girl Next Door is a character study about what draws people to do unspeakable evil. Is it innate? Is it taught? A combination of both? These are not easy questions to answer, but that's why I find The Girl Next Door to be a worthwhile view. You'll be forced to think about heavy questions by the end of the runtime, and those thoughts are worth enduring the trauma. But, as I've warned many a time, once is all you will need with this one. And you will honestly regret that one viewing by the end of it too. But the reflections you may have from that point forward are worthy bits of philosophical musing. So if you can, subject yourself to this one. It will make you think. That's why I'm giving this rockin' horror picture my recommendation. It will not be an easy view, and you will hate me by the end of the runtime for recommending this picture to you. But you will ask yourself the question of good and evil, about authority figures, and about what allows people to do these unspeakable acts. And that alone is a worthwhile endeavor. Okay, I need to go rinse my brain off with some bleach now. My God. Anyway, that just about does it for this week's episode of The Rocking Horror Picture Show. Let me know what you thought about The Girl Next Door in the comments below. I'm your host, Sleeve T, and as always, I'm doing just fine. What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Sleeve T, and I just wanted to thank you for watching this week's episode. I've really been enjoying reading my comments section, so I created a Discord in order to take recommendations for movies and let you join the discussion. The link is below. Also, I have a Patreon with completely uncensored episodes. You get to watch them on Monday instead of Wednesday, and you get your name in the credits right here. Hopefully I'll see you there, and I'll see you next week. Rock and roll.